what happens to the Internal Revenue Service? And trying your best to stay, if for example that you're audited. The IRS has 3 ways of auditing you. The first one's very, very easy. They have a big computer and they suck up all these 1099s and W-2s and everything else, and then they put in your tax returns, and then they match them. They match. And when if your tax return doesn't include something where they've received a 1099 for you, out comes a letter. And that letter comes to you and says, dear Mr. Kanellis, where is the dividend income from IBM that we know you received last year? And you haven't reported on your income tax return. There may be a perfectly good reason why that happens. Most of the time there is. It might be because I reported it as part of the total income that I had received from a stock brokerage firm, because maybe my IBM stock had been with a stock brokerage firm instead of individually held, and I messed that up somehow. I could just write back a very, very kind and polite letter explaining why I think I'm correct, showing them all the documentation necessary, and we're done. And in those situations, you never hear back from them. You don't, 6 months, a year go by, you never hear back from them, and that's good. You don't have to worry about that. If you made a mistake, then you just pay your tax. You write the letter again, dear IRS, I regret, I've reviewed my records and I regret to say I've made an error. And here's the additional tax that's necessary. If you have any other, they'll receive it, bill you, and so on. But do deal with it, because if you don't deal with it, then you're going to get another letter from them issuing a tax bill. They will then bill you for this. And if you don't pay it, then it gets harder and harder and harder. They might lien on other assets of yours, lien on your paycheck, lien on your bank account, all this kind of thing that the IRS has in its store. It has an ability to do. But the worst, the next level, which is generally the level that we all get scared of, is when the IRS says, come on down, we need to talk to you. Come on down. Step 1, when you get that letter, don't panic. You can call an expert, a professional expert, to go down, because you are entitled to representation. This is like a legal matter, right? So you're entitled to representation, you have all kinds of appeal rights and everything else. You're not going to go to jail. But what you will maybe want to do is shape the battlefield. So either you or your professional might call the IRS and say, hi, we got your letter, look forward to meeting you, because you're going to talk to this auditor. You've said here that you want all of our records. Is there anything particular that you'd like to see? Is there any particular part of my business that you would like to look at? Are there some deductions on my return that you'd like me to prove? Often, the guy will say, sure, I'd like you to prove your entertainment expenses, your travel expenses, and this thing over here, maybe your automobile expenses. And so what have you done? You've taken a whole audit and you've reduced it to this much. Okay, so that's step 1. Try to reduce the size of the audit. Step 2, get all that documentation together and organize it. When I go to an audit with a client, I will have a lead sheet, and on that lead sheet it's going to say, let's say entertainment expenses, and then every one of those entertainment expenses is going to be summarized on that lead sheet and then attached to that is going to be all the necessary documentation. Because what I want the auditor to do is just look at that, check. The lead sheet's for him because he's going to keep that in his work papers. Check, 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 check. You're all done. Mr. Kanellis, you're all done. There's nothing here. I can see nothing here. Let's move on. That's a whole lot better than, let me see. I got, oh, yeah, here's one. Here's another one. While you're fumbling and being nervous and all that, what is happening? The IRS agent has a chance to think. And if they have a chance to think, they'll be thinking of other things they might want to ask you, right? So fear not the IRS that way. Respect them, but be organized and be ready to move your audit as quickly as possible, because the faster it moves, the sooner you're out of there and the less is going to be found. And then the guy on the other end is going to appreciate it too, because they're up to here with cases. And if you're truly honest and you've documented everything, and that's the big thing, document everything, you're going to be just fine.